golly, it was the game of the year, of the century, of the week, as we continually say, and it lived up to it. Rams Seahawks gave us such a reminder to me of why these two teams are just legitimately top line Super Bowl contenders. I think the Rams and the Seahawks showed us yesterday why they're simply better than everybody else in the NFC, because those defenses, you call it ugly offense if you want, Caroline. I'm taking the stance that we saw two defenses that are just so elite that it absolutely put their opponents in a blender, and it was beautiful to watch.
This game was awesome. Like, this game was so fun to watch, even though, because sometimes if we talk about, okay, it was a very, defensive forward game, your mind might immediately go to gross, grind it out. And even though this was a very defensive forward game, it was fun to watch, that this was a matchup between two heavyweights, that this was a critical matchup for one of the deepest and most fun divisions in football this year, and it actually delivered, because we've had some clunkers in some of the games of the century, of the week, over the last several weeks. And there is a world, I think, with these two quarterbacks, between Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford, the offensive minds on both respective sidelines, the talent and the weapons that both of those quarterbacks have around them. Like, there is a world that exists where a matchup between these two quarterbacks could be like a 45-42 type of game, just like an offensive fireworks type of game. But I think that's a testament to how good both of these defenses are. And I think one thing that I learned from this game, Fitz, is that Matthew Stafford should be the front runner for MVP. And right now, the Rams should be viewed as the favorite to win a Super Bowl and the best team in the NFL. I said it last week. Frank didn't deliver. I will say it again this week. The Rams deserve to be in the number one spot in Frank's power rankings. The reason why I think Matthew Stafford should be the front runner for MVP, just look at the season as a whole. Matthew Stafford hasn't thrown an interception since late September. Matthew Stafford has thrown 22 consecutive touchdown passes without an interception, and he was able to keep up that kind of stat line against the best defense in the NFL. And if you don't think that the Seahawks have the best defense in the NFL, a top 3 defense in the NFL at the absolute very worst. That we saw two MVP contenders go head-to-head yesterday. One pooped his pants in Sam Darnold, throwing 4 picks to 0 touchdowns, and one did enough to will his team to victory. Was it the sexiest stat line in the world? No, it wasn't. Was it one of these massive 4 or 5 touchdown days from Matthew Stafford yesterday? No, it wasn't. But Matthew Stafford did what he needed to do against that defense to find a way to win. And the reason why I think the Rams should be the number one team in the NFL, at least the NFC, is because now we have a sample size of the Rams winning games in different ways. Last week, they had to put up 42 points in an offensive shootout with the 49ers to find a way to win. Turned around on their heads this week, and it was a defensive game. They're able to score 21 points and find a way to win. The Rams can win an offensive shootout. The Rams can win in a grind it out, run the ball, play good defense, capitalize off of your opponent's mistakes kind of games. That is the DNA for a Super Bowl contender, a team that can truly beat you in several different ways.
Well, and to your point, and you were right, like we came into the week differing on who the best team in the NFC was. I took Seattle, you took the Rams, and I really felt like there were times in this game, because look, Sam Darnold throws 4 picks, and this still comes back down to a field goal attempt at the end of the game, right? Like, this comes down to just a few yards difference between who wins and loses this game. And I felt like I was going to be able to swaggy walk in and be like, look at that, didn't even play a clean game, and all of a sudden they still found a way to beat the Rams. They did not. You were right. Sam Darnold throws 4 picks in this game. And I think even more important, because some of the picks have nuance. I'm not sure they're all Sam Darnold's fault. But it did feel as the game went on like Sam pressed a little bit. Like, we've got the infamous I'm seeing ghosts. And it felt like as the game went on, Stafford got calmer. Darnold did not. There's such a small difference in between these two teams. And over the course of yesterday, I think you could make the argument that Seattle did everything they needed to win this game. They were better than the Rams in many ways, but the quarterback simply wasn't. And that's where the Rams defense just got an advantage versus ability to just get in Darnold's face over and over and over again. 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown allowed, 45.5 passer rating allowed. It just speaks to the fact that they disrupted Sam Darnold all game. And I walked away from this, you're right, Caroline, saying these games, as I say all the time, between like comparative teams are won in the margins. There is a fair point of yesterday, Sam Darnold needed to be better in the margins to give his team a chance to beat Matt Stafford. You cannot have that sort of a game from your quarterback and stay in it. It's a testament that the Rams were even close to winning this game with 4 turnovers from your quarterback. But, man, you just can't play that sort of a game in that game if you're Sam Darnold.
Does that change your mind at all on who Sam Darnold is and what he can do for the Seattle Seahawks?
I don't think so, because I think we have to have the grace to allow a bad game, right? Like, it was not a good game from Sam Darnold. I believe that. I also think then we stack it to the other bad games that Sam Darnold has seen. But we never go back and say, well, Mahomes didn't play very well in that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. Well, of course he didn't. He was getting absolutely cremated the whole time. He didn't play well under pressure. Yeah. We rarely bring up, well, Mahomes didn't look great against the Philadelphia Eagles last year in the Super Bowl. Of course he didn't. He was getting pressured. Like, even the best quarterback in the league right now, and maybe the best to ever play it by the time it's all said and done, is disrupted when pressure gets at him. And both of these defenses yesterday did a great job. So it doesn't really change how I feel about Sam Darnold, because A, I don't think most defenses can get after him that way. And B, I do think that we have to have the grace, despite what we've seen from Sam Darnold a couple of times last year. Like, that doesn't carry over the same way for me this year. Like, I'm willing to give him the opportunity to still prove that he can be sort of that guy. What about you?
I'm glad that you said that, because I'm with you. And also because I want this to serve as a reminder to everyone out there that we knew that Sam Darnold was capable of this. We've talked about this before look, when we were talking about best team in the NFC, the Seahawks or the Rams, I deferred to the Rams because I trusted Matthew Stafford more. Because I trusted Matthew Stafford to not make just the stupid mistake, not throw the death pick that Sam Darnold has proven to do in the past. That doesn't mean he does it every single week. It doesn't mean that he's going to, blow a game every single week and every single outing, but it just means he's capable of doing that. We knew he was capable of doing that. So I don't think it's any sort of indictment on Sam Darnold that he did what we knew he was capable of. In the same breath, though, we know that he's capable of taking a game over and going shot for shot and pound for pound and being able to compete in some of these, these very offensive, heavy shootout type of games. So we know Sam Darnold is capable of this. We know that, unfortunately, with all of the good that comes with this version of Sam Darnold, you also have the clunkers and the stinkers every once in a while. It's what makes me a little bit nervous about the Seattle team, because they're going to be facing really good defenses at some point in the playoffs, whether it's in the wild card round, whether it's in the divisional round, whether it's in the Super Bowl, whatever it might be, that Sam Darnold's going to be seeing some ghosts against some really good defenses in the playoffs. Is the Seahawks defense good enough to overcome it? Because it almost was yesterday. It almost was against the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. So my mind has not changed on Sam Darnold. This is just a reminder that this is who he is.
Well, and to that point, this is why you can't just stat read, because as I pull the box score up, what's interesting to me is that neither team was credited with the sack, right? And there were only 3 tackles for loss for Seattle and 4 tackles for loss for the Rams. I would challenge y'all, go back and watch the game, because you'll see the line of scrimmage was being moved immediately. Like you mentioned, great defense. Yeah. Seattle's defensive line and their second layer of defense, their ability to pop through and just make plays at, near, or behind the line of scrimmage over and over and over again was disruptive. And then the Rams' ability to get home with just their front 4 was just disruptive. I was stunned with how disruptive both of these defenses were throughout the course of it. And I think it's just a statement. Look, but you are absolutely right. My mind changed a little bit on the sense that if I believed going into this game that the Seahawks were the best team in the NFC, I have no choice but to believe that it's the Rams now. But I also think that we're splitting hairs. If we watch these two teams play 10 times, like I would be in for watching it. I didn't see anything from any other team yesterday that changed my mind about the fact that these are the 2 best teams in the NFC. And that's just like right now, I see that the odds to win the NFC favor the Eagles. That's fine. There's a lot of reasons to that. To me, the 2 best teams in the NFC right now are the Rams and the Seahawks.
And we'll catch up with Ross Tucker later on in the show. He was on the call last night for the Eagles-Lions game, so he was up close and personal, saw those other two teams, the other game of the century of the week and the Eagles-Lions matchup last night. There was nothing that I saw in that game that made me change my mind, that the Rams are the best team in the NFC and possibly even the NFL. Because the Eagles, yes, that's a stifling defense, but that's back-to-back weeks where every single yard that the Eagles earned looked really tough to get. And then the Lions, if the season ended right now, the Lions would be on the outside looking in of the postseason. Like that, the offense was incredibly stagnant. Jared Goff looked incredibly shaken up. At some point, you got to stop going for it on fourth down when you're 0-5. So there are flawed teams in the NFC. I am hard pressed to find a fatal flaw on this Los Angeles Rams team.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. They are panicking all over Detroit, obviously. We'll get into that in a little bit. They're also panicking in Kansas City. Oh, the Denver Broncos may have sewn up the division last night and then made a massive change to the entire playoff picture. We'll tell you about it next. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-5 and out of the playoff picture. No devil magic this season. Oh, man, I think we found our producer's burner account there, Josh's burner account there. Like, I'm just saying, there's plenty of people like, look, I'll admit it. I got that full Grinch smile last night. Like, my two biggest rivals, as a Raiders fan, there's two teams in the world you never root for. It's the Chiefs and the Broncos. Like, the Chargers also in there. But I got a whole laundry list. But the Chiefs and the Broncos there. And even through a Broncos win, I got that Grinch smile where I was like, ooh, what do you know about Kansas City? Kansas City falls to 5-5. But here's the thing. Caroline, I want to tell you, I want to look at everybody and say they're dead. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot just presume that it's all over for the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though they lost yesterday, that was a close game at Mile High against what is now looks like one of the three best teams in the league. Came down to the wire, as always. I'm not willing to call them dead yet. I can't do it.
You know what close counts for? Not football. Hand grenades and horseshoes. Close doesn't matter. The Kansas City Chiefs needed wins in the win column. You know, a close loss on the road, a tough place to play against one of the better defenses in the NFL. Sure, it's a good moral victory. Sure, might give you a couple of warm and fuzzies. But this Chiefs team expectation was to get to the Super Bowl. And now sitting at 5-5, that feels like such a far cry, because if the playoffs started tomorrow, the Chiefs wouldn't even be in the postseason. And this just feels like such weird, uncharted territory, because the kind of games that we saw yesterday are the kind of games that previous iterations of the Chiefs win. That when Patrick Mahomes gets the ball back with a 3-point lead with 4 minutes left, Patrick Mahomes solidifies that lead, and the final score ends up looking a whole lot more favorable for the Kansas City Chiefs than maybe the game actually went. But Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City had 2 opportunities in the last 5 minutes of that game to either tie it or to win it, and they didn't. That is just, it's so foreign to anyone who have only watched the Chiefs over the past couple of seasons. That's kind of voodoo magic, that kind of Patrick Mahomes razzle-dazzle, the way that the ball always seemed to bounce their way in late game situations last season and even the year prior. It's not bouncing their way anymore. So I don't want to say that the Chiefs are dead. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the AFC West. I think at that point, statistically, sure, they still can win the division. I just still think they have too much of a hole to dig themselves out of to win the division. I still think the Chiefs are going to find themselves in the playoffs, but there's a certain sense of just positive juju that seemed to surround this team for so long that they don't have anymore.
I agree with everything you said, but this is the one caveat to all of that. Like, look, total yards, 342 for Denver, 311 for Kansas City. Very close. The Chiefs had a turnover, right? The Chiefs committed 10 penalties for 69 yards. The Chiefs were only 5 of 13 on third downs. They were 0 for 1 on fourth down. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone, for the love of God. They only attempted 13 rushes by anybody not named Patrick Mahomes. They couldn't run the ball at all. They couldn't find a way to get anything rolling on offense, and they lost by 3 on the last second field goal. Like, this is that moment where I know what everybody's going to say is that the Chiefs are broken and leave them for dead. And that feels like the right thing to do because they're 5-5. But they're a game right now. You're right. They're out of the playoffs. They're a game behind the Jags. Do I trust the Jags more than I trust Patrick Mahomes? The answer to that is no. Now, there are tough games left ahead. They still got to play the Broncos again. They still got to play the Colts. They still got to play the Cowboys, who we know can score a lot of points. There are some tough games ahead. But, man, even at 5-5, you look at it and say, okay, do I believe that the Kansas City Chiefs can win 5 more games this season? Well, Vegas is going to tell me that they're favorites against Houston. Vegas is going to tell me they're favorites against the Titans for sure, the Raiders for sure, probably the Chargers. Like, when you start doing that, it's not that hard, Caroline, to still get this Chiefs team to 10 wins. Like, everybody wants to leave them for dead today, and that makes a lot of sense because they lost yesterday. But I think yesterday was more about the Denver Broncos stealing the AFC West for the rest of the year. It's done. They're going to win the division. Congrats. Let's see what the Broncos can do. I'm just not willing to call the Chiefs dead yet.
I don't think that you can. And I think this is a mental battle that I have with myself all the time, and I'm sure so many football fans are having right now, of how do you weigh what we've seen versus what we know? We know that this Chiefs team is incredibly easy to trust, that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, they're going to find a way. We know that about this team. What we've seen is some true clunkers. This wasn't a clunker against the Broncos. Any team is going to struggle against that Broncos defense. But last week against Buffalo, that was a clunker. That was an all-time bad performance by Patrick Mahomes. What we've seen is a lot of close losses. Just look at the Chiefs' losses. A 6-point loss to the Chargers, a 3-point loss to the Eagles, a 3-point loss to the Jags, a 1-score loss to the Bills, and a 3-point loss to the Broncos. Those are all games that last year the Chiefs would have won, that they are not winning. So my eyes are showing me that. My eyes are showing me that the Chiefs don't have that same kind of magic. My eyes are showing me that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have that same kind of sense of inevitability that we've always seen. So I think that where I come, with what we know versus what we've seen about this Chiefs team, is it's probably somewhere in the middle. And I will give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt because they've built up enough goodwill and enough equity in my eyes to be able to give them that benefit of the doubt. And then you look at the schedule. They host the Colts next week. That's a game at Arrowhead. They might be slight favorites, but that's a game, frankly, that I would pick the Colts in. So then let's just say the Chiefs fall to 5-6, panic button being pressed everywhere in Kansas City. They can then win out. They can win at Dallas. They can beat the Texans. They can beat the Chargers. They should beat the Titans, my goodness. They can beat the Broncos at the end of the season, and then they can beat the Raiders in Vegas. Those are all games that they can win, and then you're looking at 11-6, and that surely is enough for the Chiefs to make the postseason. So maybe that's giving, this version of the Chiefs a little bit too much of the benefit of the doubt, but Fitz, they've earned it, and I think that they deserve it, as shaky as they've looked.
The question to me isn't, can the Chiefs make it to the playoffs? Because the answer to that, we agree, is clearly yes. The question is, can this Kansas City Chiefs team, as constructed, win a Super Bowl? And, man, this is what gets really difficult for me, because if they sneak into the playoffs with the last seed in the with what we have today, as of right now in the standings, that means they would have to go in the first round to Foxborough to take on a Patriots team that we believe is very good, but we don't know. How many people are going to be comfortable just declaring that the Patriots will take down Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't know. I think it's fair. I think, honestly, this is where everybody says, well, all you guys do is scream about why the Chiefs are going to get it right. And that's only because you can only see it so many times. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has never not gotten to the AFC Championship game. So if you believe that the Chiefs are broken, then you're going to believe that for the first time in his entire playing career as a starter, Mahomes isn't going to make the AFC Championship game for the first time. I can't make that leap because I've just seen it too many times. So my presumption is like a phoenix rising from the ashes, rising from the dead. There'll be some way that Mahomes just pisses us all off and gets right back to the AFC Championship game. But that doesn't change the fact that I think that the Patriots and the Colts and the Broncos are better teams right now than the Chiefs are a better team. Like that's real. I think all of those three teams are better than the Chiefs. I just don't truly, like, if I had to bet my house today on Drake May versus Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, I'm sorry. If my house was on the line, I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes.
And that kind of goes back to what we know versus what we've seen. Like, what we've seen, what my eyes are telling me are that the Patriots would be a better bet to get the AFC Championship game, the Colts, the Broncos at this point. But what I know is that I'm not going to bet against that man in the playoffs. And if/when the Chiefs find themselves in the playoffs, is anybody going to think that they're not going to be able to knock off at least one, if not two teams on the road to a Super Bowl? Like, maybe they don't. Maybe these issues with the Chiefs are real and will show up in the postseason. Maybe there's just a whole bunch of good luck that has been exhausted on this Chiefs team that they don't have anymore, that's run out. Maybe all of that is true, because we've seen a little bit of that in the regular season, right? But again, I agree with you 1,000%. I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. But let's just say tomorrow is the AFC Championship game. Let's say it is the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. Let's say that game's in Foxborough. Who's favored?
Chiefs would be favored. I think the Chiefs are favored by a couple. It's a close game, but I think the Chiefs would be favored by a couple. What do you think?
Probably. I would take the Chiefs by no more than like 2.5 points. But I would still take the Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs would be favored. And that's crazy. We're talking about the Patriots with the best record in the AFC and the Chiefs who wouldn't even be in the playoffs if it started today.
Yeah, and all of this because what we saw yesterday, we saw the Chiefs get chiefed. We saw Bo Nix go out and run that 4-minute offense throughout the course of the fourth quarter. We saw Bo Nix make the plays that needed to be made. It's going to be stuck in our mind watching Patrick Mahomes throw an interception on a throw he just didn't need to make. That was a huge point in this football game. It's going to be stuck in our minds watching Bo Nix run down the field, march down the field. And look, I have plenty of questions about Bo. I will not change that yet. I will not hide those questions about whether or not Bo Nix is really him. And Bo Nix is not the best quarterback in the NFL, but he is certainly currently looks like maybe one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL. His ability inside, I don't know if I don't want Bo Nix to be my starter for 4 quarters, but hell, I'd love for him to be my starter inside of 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So plenty of Broncos talk to come.
He deserves some love today. And I apologize to Broncos fans everywhere and to Bo Nix himself that we just bloviated about the Chiefs, a team that lost to the Broncos yesterday. And the Broncos have such a stronghold on this division. But I'll give Bo Nix a lot of credit because I have given him so much crap over the last several weeks. Bo Nix deserves his flowers today.
And the Broncos do. I mean, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, that defense, it's special. This team looks like a special football team, and they're having one of those years, much like the Chiefs have had, where they find great ways to win games. We'll keep doing a roundup of everything we saw yesterday, including we haven't even gotten to the Eagles Lions. We'll talk to Ross Tucker. He was there. We'll see what his thoughts were on the massive matchup from the NFC last night. Coming up next.
Got some Greek salad, some cheesecake. That's interesting right after the Greek salad. And then, pasta and meatballs, assorted veggies, herb roasted fingerling, potatoes, rice pilaf. Still no idea what pilaf means.
Still no idea what pilaf means is the quote of the day from Ross Tucker. He joins us now. He's the host of the Ross Tucker podcast, which you should follow on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Ross, thanks for the time, man. We appreciate you this morning. You were there last night showing us the spread for Eagles Lions. So what's your concern level, having seen it up close and in person, for what we saw from the Lions offense last night?
That is such a good question. I think I said, Jason, at the end of the game, that the first thing I would do if I were Jared Goff and the Lions would be burn that glove he had on his throwing hand. I mean, I have never seen Jared Goff play that poorly. I've never seen him miss that many throws. I've never seen the ball come out of his hands that poorly. And I got to tell you, it wasn't warm last night, but it wasn't really that cold. And it wasn't really that windy. I would think, the last few years, him playing the NFC North at Chicago, at Green Bay, I'm a little surprised he struggled that much. I do think you need to give the Eagles defense some credit. That's now back-to-back NFC North quarterbacks in Jordan Love and Jared Goff, who they've really made look bad. Pretty clearly, this Eagles defense is stellar and looking like the Super Bowl bunch from a year ago. But still, for Goff to miss some of the throws that he missed, it was stunning. He really didn't give them a chance to win the game.
I'm shocked that you said that about the weather, because just based off of how it was described on the TV broadcast, you truly would have thought that that game was being played in the middle of Antarctica. So good context there from someone who had their boots on the ground in that game. But Jared Goff's performance isn't just due to him or the weather. We have to give credit to that Philadelphia Eagles defense. Is it possible that that unit is even better than the Philadelphia Eagles defense that won a Super Bowl just a year ago?
It's a really good question, and I think it is. And I'll tell you why. They're so young, and so many of those guys that were awesome during the epic Super Bowl run, they were super young getting their first time. Now they're a little bit more seasoned. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter up front. Then you add Jalen Phillips. At linebacker, it's the second year for Zach Bond playing the position. Second year for Nakobe Dean starting there in Vic Fangio's defense. And last year, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were rookies. They have made a leap in year two. Quinyon Mitchell went from a really good rookie to one of the best corners in the NFL. Plus, they have a full season under their belt in Vic Fangio's defense. Why is that so important? Because the level of familiarity, the comfort they have in that scheme, not only do they know what their responsibility is, but they know in certain coverages where the vulnerabilities are. They know where the offense is going to attack. They know where their pressure points are, and they know how to handle the situations. It's extremely impressive to see what they do. Now, I will say I don't feel like they're as good at number 2 corner. I don't feel like they're as good at safety, but they probably make up for it at the other spots.
Okay, Ross, they just did that to the Lions last night, though, right? And we keep talking about the lack of offense for the Eagles. Does the lack of offense really matter? I mean, if you can beat an offense like the Lions, who cares?
It's so funny because I live outside of Philadelphia. I do their preseason games on television, and I do a lot of Philadelphia radio. And there's a lot of concern, consternation, whatever you want to call it, with the offense. In fairness to what Caroline said, I do think the wind was somewhat of a factor last night, but not like 33% for a guy that's the 74% completion, like not a 40% factor, okay? Like it was for Jared Goff in that game last night. For the Eagles, they made a clear, conscious decision to get A.J. Brown involved. He got a lot of targets. He caught more passes. I'm not sure they were the most efficient throws. He does not seem to be getting the separation that he's got in previous years. So even when he does catch the ball, it's a contested catch and he gets tackled right away. And so I don't really know how much that really does for the team. It seems like to me, they do better when they get the ball to Goddard and Devontae Smith and other guys that have created more separation on their routes.
Let's move on to the Browns, who their quarterback situation is always going to be a fun little topic of discussion. We saw Shedeur Sanders come in. Dillon Gabriel goes out with a concussion. Shedeur Sanders, slappy, took too many sacks, took too many hits, 4 of 16 threw an interception. Not the most stunning or seamless debut for Shedeur Sanders, but from what you saw from him, what you have seen from him, whether it's in college or his work that he got in the preseason, what does he need to do to keep a starting job in the NFL?
Well, so, I'm actually calling the Browns at the Raiders on Sunday for CBS. So could be Shedeur's first start. I don't want to say I totally dismiss how he performed against the Ravens, but I think you really need to take that with a grain of salt. He probably got 1 or 2 reps, if any, last week in practice, and the entire game plan was designed around Dillon Gabriel's skill set, which, by the way, is the right move for Kevin Stefanski and the Browns to give Gabriel every chance to have success as a rookie. That said, if Gabriel's out and Shedeur Sanders does start the game, then the entire game plan and every rep should go to Shedeur Sanders this week, and I would expect him to perform better. I thought he showed more athleticism than I think some people give him credit for, running a couple times for productive yardage. Obviously, the biggest issue is the holding on to the ball at times and the drifting backwards in the pocket. It is sort of a learned trait that most of the time your best move is to step up in the pocket as opposed to bailing out the back. Again, though, I do think it'd be really interesting if he does start to see how the offense is designed around Shedeur and his skill set, because he's a different player than is Dillon Gabriel.
You mentioned the limited snaps that he's taken in practice. Give us all context as somebody who played and somebody who covers the sport at your level. How different is that than most backup quarterback situations?
No, that's how it is. I mean, and that's kind of backups across the board. Now, for me as a former offensive lineman, there's a lot of weeks I was the backup at center and both guards. So I might have gotten the last rep or two. So typically a practice segment will be 12 plays, maybe 15. You want the starter to get those looks because there's only limited practice time. You want them to get those reps. So I think it's very customary, especially I would say when you have a rookie starting quarterback, you're not going to give the backup quarterback reps, which by the way is why it's so valuable when you have backups like a Jacoby Brissett or a Joe Flacco that can enter the game with 0 reps during the week and still be able to function. I think that's a little bit harder and a little bit more to ask of a rookie quarterback like Shedeur Sanders. I would expect him to fare much better if he gets all the reps in practice during the week. You'd imagine he'll get a bunch this week with Gabriel being in the concussion protocol, whether or not Gabriel clears it in time to play in the game or not.
So let's go into another quarterback who also hasn't been able to get a whole lot of reps. That's because of injury, and that's J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. We've seen some good. We've seen some not very good from J.J. McCarthy. From where it stands right now, is he the long-term answer for the Vikings?
Well, that's what the whole rest of this season's about. They kind of need to figure that out. And you know what's so interesting to me about that is, remember, they wanted Sam Darnold up until a point where he was going to become a starter somewhere else and get that kind of money. But I had Tom Pelissero from NFL Network come on my show, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, back, I want to say, in May. And he reported that the Vikings had actually offered Daniel Jones more guaranteed money than did the Colts. Remember, he's getting $13 million from the Colts. That means the Vikings offered him at least $14 million fully guaranteed. Now, Daniel Jones went to Indy because he knew he had a better chance to be the starting quarterback as opposed to looking over his shoulder at J.J. McCarthy, who the Vikings drafted high for a reason. But that tells you a little bit about the Vikings as it relates to J.J. McCarthy. Whether it was a health thing or whether they just weren't totally sure. Nobody offers a guy over $14 million fully guaranteed for 1 year to be a backup quarterback in the NFL unless they believe there's a real chance that that guy is going to have to play. Ironically, of course, because of injury, Daniel Jones would have started a bunch of games for the Vikings like Carson Wentz did. And quite frankly, if Daniel Jones had played as well in Minnesota as he has in Indy, he probably would still be in the lineup. And they wouldn't have been able to take him out, and J.J. McCarthy would be on the bench. Instead, McCarthy's back in, and McCarthy has the rest of the season to prove to the organization and the fan base that they do not need to get another quarterback or even competition going into 2026.
Imagine how different the league would have looked, Daniel Jones not with the Colts. That's crazy. Same game, opposite sideline, Caleb Williams. We've seen some good, we've seen some bad. We see these clutch wins over and over and over again, but the tape doesn't always look great. Where are you on Caleb?
He's getting better, and I'll take a guy who the tape doesn't always look great, but they play their best at the end, which, by the way, is the same thing for J.J. McCarthy. Now, he didn't play well at all, but those last couple drives, that was the best J.J. McCarthy was all day. That's been Bo Nix all season. That's been Caleb Williams all season. It's kind of wild that draft class, it doesn't always look pretty, but those guys have a real tendency on the last drive or two in the last 5 minutes to play better than they have all game. Somebody has to tell those guys, hey, just pretend like it's the last 5 minutes, please, for the whole game.
That is absolutely, you're right. It's maddening to me to watch it and see it look so good at times and so bad at other times. All right, so holiday season, people need to listen up if they want a great, meaningful gift for their loved ones. Ross, tell everybody about my front page story. What do you got going on?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I forgot I have it over there, but I don't have time to go get it now. It's the best holiday gift I've ever seen. I actually invested in the company. You have a professional writer that writes a story all about your loved one. So it could be your mom, your dad, could be your significant other. But imagine a 10-minute phone call. You tell them how great your wife is. They write the most incredible story. You can see that gift for a Father's Day for people that are watching you. I am telling you, I've seen so many videos at this point Whoever gets the gift, they cry happy tears almost every time. People never know what to get someone for the holidays or for Mother's Day or Father's Day or Valentine's Day. Do yourself a favor. Go to myfrontpagestory.com. At least just throw your email address in there so you get the 20% discount and the reminders before the holidays, Valentine's, Mother's Day. I can tell you it'll pretty much be the best gift she has ever gotten, or he. myfrontpagestory.com, myfrontpagestory.com.
That is an awesome idea. Follow him on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Check out his great work. Ross, can't wait I'll listen to you. You know, I'll be listening to the Raiders-Browns game. So I'll be hearing your sweet, sweet voice on Sunday. Can't wait to hang out with you again. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Sounds great. My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Great stuff.
Thanks, Ross.
Great idea. My front page story. I'm going to get Caroline to get me that for Christmas. Coming up, if you were writing a front page story on Josh Allen, it'd be about how incredible he was. Can the Bills win the Super Bowl with that version of Josh? We'll figure it out next. Josh Allen wasn't just Superman yesterday. He was Superman, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Batman all wrapped up into one. 357 total yards, 6 total touchdowns. And you want to talk about watching somebody single-handedly will a team to victory. You want to watch one of those efforts that makes you say, oh, my God, I wish that guy was my quarterback. The sort of effort that makes you say, no matter what I think of this team, I can't be out on him because he is that damn good. Josh Allen yesterday, Caroline, was every bit the superstar he needed to be, and the Bills needed every ounce of it for them to win. It's crazy to me because they need that version of Josh, but when you see that version of Josh, I don't know how you stop that.
Well, Josh Allen now has 2 games with at least 3 passing and at least 3 rushing touchdowns. That's 2 more than any other player that has ever played a down in the history of the National Football League. Is that not crazy when you think about just the sheer and utter supermanness of Josh Allen? And it is so incredibly fun to watch Josh Allen when he's having a day like that. And look, it happens frequently enough that it's not like it happens few and far between. But when you watch Josh Allen when he is cooking, there is no more fun player to watch in the NFL because he just does things that you're like, how did he make that happen? There was a play yesterday, obviously against the Bucs, when he's rolling out of the pocket, he's running left, he's running right, and then he just launches a ball like 30 yards downfield, and you think to yourself, no other person in the world, no other person on the planet could make that happen or would even think about doing something like that. So Josh Allen is so fun to watch. He also could, sprinkle some boneheaded plays in there. We saw that yesterday, like chest pass out of the end zone. Like, what are we doing, Josh Allen? But I mean, that's just the Josh Allen experience, right? You're going to experience the highest of the highs, and then you're going to experience some plays that you're like, whoa, probably shouldn't have done that. But it doesn't matter because Josh Allen does so much good that it outweighs any of the boneheadedness. So if we see this version of Josh Allen, it's hard to say that the Bills can't make or win the Super Bowl. When Superman is Superman, like he was yesterday, there's no other team in the NFL that can stop that or beat that. The thing is, Fitz, though, it's just so hard to look past this Buffalo Bills defense. They can give up 200 rushing yards on the ground. And look, today it doesn't matter because Josh Allen made up for it. So no one can beat Josh Allen when he's playing like that. But when you pair it with that defense, it's hard to trust this Bills team.
Look, I think at some point what you've got is an entire group of people. Like, we all showed up at the gym and we're playing on the same basketball team. It just happens to be that Wemby's on my team and not on yours. And like, so yeah, I'm taking credit for all the wins. I got Wemby. That's how I feel about the entire Buffalo Bills team right now. Like, the coaching staff, the organization, everybody, top down, you are basically hitching everything you have to one man, and you are saying, will us to victory no matter what. And it's just a lot, because I don't think the Buffalo Bills are constructed right now to be a very good football team. But I also think they're going to win a lot of games because Josh Allen is just better than everybody else. And at least when Mahomes has been over the last few years, when he's been asked to be a god for the Kansas City Chiefs to win, he's had with him one of, if not the best head coaches of all time, one of, if not the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and a defense that was stacked full of people. So it's like, yes, we're putting a lot on you, Mahomes, but we need you to just figure this out. It'll be fine. If you look at Lamar Jackson, as much has been put on Lamar at times, there have been other pieces around the Ravens you could bank on. There's been a defense that was so good, it got Michael McDonald a head coaching job, deservedly so, right? There's always been at least something around these quarterbacks that has made it okay. Like, the Bills are not giving Josh Allen anything. They're basically just saying, hey, we're just gonna ask you to drive this entire school bus all the way to the Super Bowl by yourself, and you're gonna have to take everybody on by yourself to do it. And the crazy thing is, just when you think the team should be left for dead, Josh Allen finds another gear. Like, I think what we saw yesterday was one of the most impressive quarterback performances I can remember, because I truly don't think there was a single person wearing a Buffalo Bills jersey that was helping Josh Allen get that win. He was doing all of it himself. And that's not something you can replicate every week. That's not something you can bank on. That's not something you should bet on happening, but I can't bet against it. Like, this is the maddening part of the Bills. I think the Bills aren't good, and Josh Allen is so good that he masks that. And I still don't know if that actually rules the Bills out of the Super Bowl conversation, because Josh Allen is that damn good.
And he did it without Keon Coleman, his leading receiver, really the only receiver on that team that I really thought was, easily, hands down, Josh Allen's most lethal weapon. But no Keon Coleman. He sidelined yesterday. So it's Tyrell Shavers that steps up with 90 receiving yards and a touchdown. Tyrell Shavers, that's a career game for him. Does anybody watching at home, did anybody know Tyrell Shavers before this game, unless you're a diehard Buffalo Bills fan? I know Gabe Davis stepped up big. Josh Palmer stepped up big on some money downs. Maybe the box score wasn't the sexiest stat line, but those two stepped up in money downs and when they needed it. So what Josh Allen showed me, and look, all the credit in the world to Tyrell Shavers and to Gabe Davis and to Josh Palmer, but what that showed me was Josh Allen's just going to take whoever's open. Doesn't matter if you're Keon Coleman. Doesn't matter if you're a top 10, top 15 receiver in the National Football League. If you're open, Josh Allen's going to give you a chance. If you're there, if you're wearing a Bills jersey, Josh Allen is going to give you a chance and an opportunity to make a play on a football. And that's MVP caliber kind of stuff. That is elite quarterback kind of stuff. How sustainable is it? Can Josh Allen win 2 or 3 playoff games playing that style of football? That's really hard. That is really hard to trust. That's hard for me to be able to bet on. But he's shown us pretty consistently, week over week, that, yeah, you can count on that. But please, for the love of God, Brandon Beane and everybody in that Buffalo Bills front office, Please give the man some help. It's so fun to watch him put the team on his back and be Superman every single week. You cannot count on him to be Superman every single week if you want to win a Super Bowl, which obviously is the expectation in Buffalo.
But they are counting on him to a level that I'll see if the guys can pull up the MVP odds again, because I know we've talked a lot about who the MVP is this morning, and we certainly gave some love to Matt Stafford, and deservedly so. But, man, totally. I'm looking at the upcoming schedule. Texans, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, Jets. Those are 5 of the remaining games. So those are all going to be games that Josh Allen should be great in. Then they've got the Eagles and the Patriots. Like, don't look now, but you're looking at a 7-3 Buffalo Bills team that has a shot at winning a lot of football games. I don't know. Like, as we sit right now, Matt Stafford, Drake May are both very deserving candidates. By the time this whole thing is shaken out, especially if Josh Allen can get wins over the Eagles and the Patriots down the stretch, you can't tell me that at plus 500, Josh Allen isn't actually a smart play to put some shekels on for the MVP, because there's certainly a path that gets him there, especially the way he's playing. Like, we talk about MVP moments. I think Stafford got an MVP moment yesterday in that the way that he looked against the Seahawks.
Totally.
I think Josh Allen got a massive MVP moment last night against the Bucs team that, while not everything that they were when they were healthy, is still widely well regarded. And then he comes out and has that game with what's left in front of him. Josh Allen could easily end up being the MVP this year.
I think he's played at an MVP level. Understanding the human of the MVP voting process and how many players this year have had MVP caliber moments and seasons. And of course, there's plenty of football left to be played. Matthew Stafford is having an MVP caliber season. Drake May is having an MVP caliber season. Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, both having MVP caliber seasons. Understanding that it's humans who vote on the award, I would think that a majority of the voters would vote elsewhere just because Josh Allen won it last year. Is that fair? No, it's not. Is that reality? Yes, it is. So he is having an MVP caliber season because the Bills aren't even in the Super Bowl conversation without Josh Allen. If you're getting half as much quarterback play out of Josh Allen, I think you're still like putting yourself in the Super Bowl conversation. So I don't think he would win it just by that alone. But if he continues to have those kind of games, if he continues to piece together wins over other legitimate Super Bowl contenders, then you might not be able to ignore Josh Allen, whether he won it last year or not. We've seen MVPs go back to back. Why not?
When you see what Josh Allen did yesterday, and then you compare that to what the ceiling is for other quarterbacks, and look, I think most of us would admit that if we could pick any quarterback for our franchise, it'd be Patrick Mahomes, because he's Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, we all understand that, and that's just what Patrick Mahomes does. But if you're telling me that, like, if I have to figure out which quarterback has the ceiling of, oh my God, I can do 52 things that beat you 52 ways, I just don't know that there's a quarterback in the NFL right now that can beat you the way that Josh Allen beats you. And what we saw yesterday, particularly when you talk about the passing touchdowns, when you talk about the rushing touchdowns, when you just talk about the ability, I've said to everybody, I think over the last couple of weeks, like, I want to know how a team's getting themselves out of 3rd and 8. The Bills' answer to get ourselves out of 3rd and 8 is just, we're going to let Josh Allen somehow will us out of it. It's wild
3rd and Josh Allen.
It's wild to see. I don't think right now there's a more impressive quarterback week in and week out than what Josh Allen is capable of. Josh Allen at his best is better than everybody else at their best today. And that's just, I know that's recency bias from what we saw yesterday, but what we saw yesterday is just too much of a body of proof on what the greatness of Josh Allen can look like. And I don't know another quarterback right now in the NFL that can beat you that many different ways. Like, hey, you took this away, I'll beat you this way. That's what Josh Allen does brilliantly.
I think we deserve to have some recency bias based off of what we saw yesterday, because that's how amazing and incredible it was. We're allowed to overreact to it, because I don't think that you can overreact to a 6 touchdown day, 3 through the air, 3 on the ground that we saw from Josh Allen yesterday. But again, I will go back to, you can have the best quarterback who is playing the most electric football of anyone in the NFL, and we can still question your true contention at a Super Bowl because you don't have enough around him. I think about what Patrick Mahomes has around him. Imagine if Josh Allen had an Andy Reid, a Travis Kelce, a Rashee Rice, and a Chris Jones. Mm-hmm. Who's beating that team?
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying this, but shame on you, Bills. You're wasting Josh Allen. Look at that. You're wasting Josh Allen. He should have Super Bowl rings at this point. All right. We'll continue breaking down all the action from the course of the weekend, not the least of which one outcome may have affected everything for Joe Burrow. He could be back on Thanksgiving. He shouldn't be. We'll tell you why next. Joe Burrow told Jay Glazer he expects to be back by Thanksgiving, which is week 13 when they play on Thanksgiving night versus the Ravens. He's ahead of his timeline. Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports Daily. Okay, that would be great for the league. That would be great for ratings. That would be great for Thanksgiving night interest. Caroline, given the fact that the Bengals just lost on Sunday, the question is, should Joe Burrow be back by week 13 on Thanksgiving?
I think it's time to have the conversation about shutting Joe Burrow down for the season. Let's be really realistic here. Joe Burrow is an injury-prone quarterback. He's already torn an ACL. He had the hand issue. Now it's the turf toe issue. You don't have an offensive line that can protect him. He's constantly getting banged up. He is your key to being relevant and Super Bowl contenders. Cincinnati's done. Cincinnati is done. Maybe statistically, you're still you still have like a far chance of finding yourself in the postseason or maybe scratching or clawing your way up in the division. But let's be totally honest with ourselves. The Bengals aren't going to win the division. The Bengals aren't going to make the playoffs. The Bengals have enough difficult games upcoming on their schedule that maybe if you're Delulu enough, you could justify the Bengals making themselves a postseason team and making a run. But they still have the Patriots. They still have Baltimore twice. They still go to Buffalo. The Bengals aren't making the postseason. Shut Joe Burrow down for the season. What is the point of bringing back an injury-prone quarterback with an offensive line that can't protect him? This season is done. This season is lost. There is no point in putting Joe Burrow back in the line of fire. Sit him for the season, let him rest up, let him get healthy, and come back next year.
I think it'd be malpractice to put him back out at this point. When you're as far removed from the playoff conversation as they are, and the Bengals right now are 3-7. So again, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 6-4 would be the last of the playoff seeds. So they're 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. So not only at this point do you need to go on a massive run against that schedule you just mentioned, you need everybody ahead of you to start faltering. So it's not even like you control your own destiny. And we're not even sure what version of Joe Burrow we're going to get. Think about every year in September we have the conversation, well, it looks rusty because it takes some time to knock off the rust. They didn't play a lot during the preseason. Well, Joe hasn't played at all for months. So you're presuming that anyone that wants him to get back in, that you're immediately going to come in and have the video game version of Joe Burrow. I'm not willing to presume that yet. So to me, it makes absolutely zero sense to rush him back on the field. In fact, knowing as much help as you still need on the defensive side of the ball, this is one of those rare times where you say, hey, the franchise isn't broken offensively. Let's just go ahead and suck for the rest of the year. Get a better draft pick out of it. When we get the better draft pick, we'll use it on a defensive player. I do not believe that NFL teams tank. I just think that in this situation, it's smart to look at all of your options and say, hey, it actually doesn't really help us to win any football games right now. Like the worst case scenario for the Bengals is that Joe Burrow comes in, not worst case, but one of the worst cases is that he comes in, wins them just enough games that they win 6 or 7 games this season. They miss the playoffs, and now they're getting the, 15th, 16th pick in the draft, and they can't address some of your needs there. So to me, it's a win-win for the Bengals at this point, knowing that you're out of it. Go ahead and live to see another day. Also, it should be noted, I don't think they're going to have Jamar Chase in the next game. And for anyone that didn't see this, Jamar Chase, there was a fight in the game. Jalen Ramsey was ejected for throwing a punch. Ramsey said afterwards that Jamar Chase spit on him. Chase said, I didn't spit on anyone. Apparently, Chase forgot that there are cameras all over the field. All over the field. I think Chase said something to the effect of, I didn't even open my mouth. Well, it took all of an hour for Twitter to get us tons of proof positive of spit flying out of his mouth. Now, I don't know if he was just speaking aggressively, maybe just a little bit. I don't know. But it sure looks like he spit all over Jalen Ramsey. It sure looks like he spit all over.
That's so stupid. That is so dumb. And the Cincinnati Bengals have so few good things happening with them right now. You know, it's bad PR. There's fire the coach buzz, which is also a conversation that I think we need to be talking about with Zach Taylor and his future with the Cincinnati Bengals. You're losing games. Your quarterback's hurt. And you, a star player and a face of the franchise, a true franchise player, going to go out and do something stupid like that? It's just so frustrating. I'll always go back to something that Mike Vrabel said when I was covering the Tennessee Titans, when he was coaching the Tennessee Titans. It's something that I steal from him all the time. Don't do dumb stuff that hurts the team. Jamar Chase did something stupid and dumb that hurt the team yesterday. That doesn't mean I think that he is stupid and dumb. You can see the helmet behind me. I adore Jamar Chase. But he did something stupid that hurt the football team yesterday, and you cannot do that. And like you said, I would expect Jamar Chase to be suspended. He should be suspended. That's disgusting. That's disrespectful. And there's no place for that on an NFL football field. So Jamar Chase should be suspended for that. And he just continued to hurt the team there. So, and also inexcusable the way that Jalen Ramsey responded. He threw a punch. You don't do that. That's another stupid thing that hurt the football team. He was ejected from the game yesterday. He should have been ejected from the game yesterday. But just all the way around, a whole bunch of stupid. You get 60 minutes to battle and hand fight and be physical. So do it in gameplay. Don't do it when you're going to hurt your football team.
Yeah, it's look, I don't expect Ramsey to have additional punishment since he was ejected from that game. I do expect Jamar to get some sort of a punishment. And I would think, given the video evidence on it, unless something that we're not aware of is happening, I'd be stunned if he isn't suspended for a game. And he should be. He flat out should be. And then let's see how everything
do
looks.
The crime, do the time.
And there's this moment of, well, look, Flacco's been able to come in and get it done. Okay, well, let's see how it looks when you're not throwing to Jamar Chase. Like that makes a substantial difference. And all of this leads us to why I just think the Bengals are left for dead. Like at some point, it's okay to look at it and say, you know what? We built a team that was only really going to be successful if our epic starting quarterback had an epic year and he was injured for a bunch of the year. So we're not going to be successful. I do want to look at the other side of the Unk Bowl that we got because the Steelers lost. I can say that as the resident Unk on this show. I've decided I can't wait for people to start calling me Unk. Aaron Rodgers injured in this game for the Steelers has a slight break in his non-throwing wrist. It should be noted again. It's a slight break. He tried to come back in the game. They wouldn't let him, and it is his non-throwing wrist. So this will not impede his ability. But even if it does, Caroline, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is fine. Aaron Rodgers is a fine starting quarterback. I just don't think that this version of Aaron Rodgers is so light years ahead of what this version of Mason Rudolph is, that's going to be the thing that derails the Steelers season. I got to give the Steelers credit. They are winning football games. And for all of us that left them for dead, the one thing you had to equate for was like, you had to account for the fact, was Pittsburgh going to win games? They're winning games. So it's working with Unc back there, but I don't think that the loss of Aaron Rodgers, should he miss some time, is this sort of catastrophic thing. It's not the equivalent of losing Joe Burrow if you're the Bengals.
Are we ready to have that conversation? That right now, Mason Rudolph is not, or excuse me, right now, Aaron Rodgers is not light years better than what you might get from Mason Rudolph? Is that what you're implying there, Fitzy?
No, that's not what I'm implying. That's what I'm flat out saying.
That's what you're saying.
Aaron Rodgers is fine. But Aaron Rodgers yesterday was 9 of 15 for 116 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 sack. It's fine.
Aaron Rodgers is old and he looks it.
Yeah.
He's old and he looks it. He looked great at the beginning of the season, but now at 40 years old, once you get into week 10, 11, 12, once it starts to get a little cold outside, he looks like he's 40 years old. And now, with the wrist injury, have we seen the last of Aaron Rodgers?
He's an enigma. There's no way to know.
Truly.
No, because there's no way things work out that easily for him. I feel like, but the Steelers still don't. This is the nightmare situation the Steelers knew they were in the entire time. Like, they are winning enough games. All right, they're winning enough games. Do either of us, after everything we saw yesterday, I would say that neither of us believe that the Steelers are a true contender in the AFC, correct?
Correct.
So neither of them are a true contender in the AFC. They still don't have a long-term answer at the quarterback position. They haven't figured out what the future looks like there, and I'm not sure the fans are any happier than Tomlin with Tomlin. So what do we really get?
The Steelers have some soul searching to do.
Yeah, they definitely have soul searching. While they can soul search tonight while they're watching Monday Night Football, you know that I'll be watching Monday Night Football. Obviously, coming up, we'll break down what to expect. Plus, got to give out some Fitz Bumps for some of the more impressive wins we saw over the course of the weekend. Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. It's time to give out some Fitz Bumps. They're kind of like fist bumps, but they're even cooler. Not cuter. Nothing's cuter than that. I try, True. But I can't compete with the kitten. But we are going to give out some Fitz Bumps. We're going to give out some praise to some teams and players across the league that deserve it for what happened. Let's start. Caroline, I want to give out a Fitz Bump to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. They absolutely hossed up a 35-6 shellacking. They went out there, they took the Chargers behind the woodshed, and they said, you apologize for coming out here and playing football against us today. And this was an important one because keep in mind that the Jags have been in a little bit of a slump, right? They have they lost 3 or 4 games. They could have lost that one to the Raiders. Things haven't looked right. And then you get this, no touchdowns allowed, 3 sacks, 1 interception. Yes, we can have a very important, nuanced conversation about the Chargers, who are so depleted by injuries that they look like a shell of themselves. I'm not sure the Chargers are a particularly good football team, but I am sure that I thought the Chargers would give the Jags more trouble than they did yesterday, and the Jags came out with the fire of the gods. I saw Liam Cohen afterwards say, we are a better football team when we play angry, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. And he's not wrong, because that version of pop was something we saw early in the season from the Jags defense. It's a big part of why they won early and surprised all of us, and it's a big part of why they won yesterday. So I have to give the Jags a ton of credit, a ton of love, and a Fitz bump, if you will, for their big win yesterday.
Look, they deserve it. A huge win that, frankly, I did not see coming. If you would have asked me to pick this game, I would have taken the Chargers 7 days a week and twice on Sundays. But credit to the Jags. They're a team that I'm really struggling to kind of figure out. Early in the season, they were winning games kind of lucky, whether it's, fluky missed field goals or turnovers that they were able to capitalize on, 2-point conversions, whatever it might be. It was weird and fluky and kind of drunk games, but hey, fluky wins count just the same. So right now, the Jags find themselves in a playoff spot. I don't know if I would categorize this team as a playoff team, but if you continue to have performances like the Jags had yesterday, then you can totally play yourself into that kind of in my mind as a playoff team. So credit to the Jags. Still don't know who they are, but a good day from them yesterday. Permission to have my own Fitz bump, unless you have a thought on the Jags?
I would like for you to give out a Fitz bump.
I would like to give a Fitz bump to the Miami Dolphins. And look, we've been very hard on the Miami Dolphins. I have, at least. It was not that long ago that I was calling for the Miami Dolphins to blow everything up, trade everybody, fire everybody, move on from Mike McDaniel. The culture felt dead. Felt like there was just nothing good happening with the Miami Dolphins. But don't look now. I mean, they've won 2 games in a row, including a win over divisional rival Buffalo, and they beat Washington yesterday. We had Devon Achane with a massive game. Did you realize Devon Achane is 3rd in the league in rushing yards? He's behind James Cook and Jonathan Taylor, above Rico the Freako Dowdle in Carolina, who has been electric so far this season, above Derrick Henry. Devon Achane might just be one of the most under-talked about skill position players in the NFL. Devon Achane has been massive for this Dolphins team. He had 120 yards on 21 carries yesterday, had a massive 20-plus yard run yesterday. He's had back-to-back 100-plus yard games. I mean, Devon Achane is a true weapon and has been huge for this Dolphins team. But credit to this Dolphins team as a whole. They felt broken. It felt like it was at a point of no return. But credit to this team, even when they sold at the deadline and fired their general manager, they have still come out there with the power and the thunder of the gods. Credit to Mike McDaniel, who I thought was just, a dead man walking. He's been able to keep this team focused. Credit to the Dolphins, a team that I did not think I would give any credit to just a couple of weeks ago.
Also, for anyone that didn't see the report, Ian Rappaport did report over the weekend that Dolphins ownership hopes that through the course of the rest of the season that they can keep Mike McDaniel and Tua together next year. So let's see. Still a lot of football
left not on my bingo card
of the Dolphins. Look, hopefully tomorrow I can give a Fitz bump to the plucky effort of my beloved Raiders. I doubt it's going to happen. We do have Monday Night Football tonight. Cowboys-Raiders is the game. It's at Allegiant, and Dallas favored by 3.5. I'm stunned that the line is only 3.5, honestly. If you look at this Raiders season, yes, 3 of their losses have come quite literally on the last play of the game in freakish ways, but they're not very good, and this defense has had to just sort of make do week in and week out. I think George Pickens is primed to have a massive game tonight simply because the resources that you spend trying to shut down CeeDee Lamb and Javonte Williams is going to make it difficult to also match up with somebody that, if you want your way too early hot take, I think I think Pickens might want to take a lap around Allegiant and just get comfortable because I have a sneaking suspicion Allegiant's going to be his home next year. That's my way too early prediction is that George Pickens plays for the Raiders next year after destroying the Raiders tonight. So I don't love this game for my beloved Raiders. I feel like this is one of those games by halftime where I'm getting sympathy texts from everyone I know, Caroline, but that's okay. It's Monday Night Football. I'll watch it anyway. I'll just cry in my beverage.
That's not nice. That's always the worst. Whenever you are just so depressed at the, effort from your football team, then you open up your phone and everyone's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And it's like, "I know, I'm watching it too. Don't make me feel worse, even if it's coming from a good place." This might be a tough one for the Raiders. This is going to be the first time that we see Geno Smith since the absolute clunker of all clunkers and a game that set football back generations when the Raiders took on the Broncos. How do they bounce back from that? We saw Brock Bowers have a massive game just a couple of weeks ago, followed up by a horrific offensive outing. What do we see from Geno Smith? What do we see from the rest of this Raiders offense going up against Quinnen Williams, who will be making his Dallas Cowboys debut? I mean, this Dallas Cowboys defense has been abysmal at very, very, very best all this entire season. How does Quinnen Williams kind of get worked into this defense? What kind of pressure is he able to put on Geno Smith? I'm fascinated to see how Quinnen Williams fits into this Cowboys defense.
It's funny you mentioned that because last week against the Broncos on that Thursday night game, the Raiders had 2 injuries to their interior offensive line early in the game that caused both guards to be out. This week, they will have 1 guard that is a rookie that has never played a single snap of meaningful football that is going to be playing at the right guard position for this Raiders offensive line. So I'm telling all y'all now, for your fantasy football lovers, if you think that Brock Bowers is going to get usage, I don't think he is. What the Raiders typically have done so far this year is they've had to keep their tight ends in to block and chip to try and help to keep Geno upright, which means that you can't have Brock out in patterns if he's back helping try to keep your quarterback from getting murdered. So the offensive line is the reason that I don't think Brock Bowers is going to have a very big night tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm proven wildly wrong, and I hope by halftime everybody's tweeting me instead saying, "God, you're an idiot." But I have a sneaking suspicion instead I'll be getting a text from close friends reminding me that I picked the wrong team when I was a child. All right. We'll keep breaking down everything from Monday Night Football, obviously, but it was a massive weekend in college football as well. We'll get you caught up on some of the biggest storylines from across the landscape of Saturday next on Yahoo Sports Daily. The first coach in program history with 3 consecutive 10-win seasons. Oh, Ole Miss puts that out to make sure we all know how much they love Lane Kiffin, because everybody loves Lane Kiffin. We'll get into it now with Steven Godfrey, host of College Football Inquirer, hanging out with us, Yahoo Sports Daily. All right, Godfrey, Lane can't have every job, so what's the newest update? Where are we today on Lane Kiffin being the coach of 17 different college football teams, 8 different NFL teams, and making $300 million a year?
Yeah, I like the NFL part. That was new. I found that out this weekend, that apparently he's going to be the head coach of the Titans down the street from me. So that's awesome. I didn't realize
Giants.
he was going to be able to do that too. And the Giants. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Jackson Dart. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's got
Of course.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Famously good multitasker. So I'm sure this is going to work out well. Let's play a game. And let's be really cautious about how we use our words, because every time I'm on the show, someone aggregates when we make a little bit of a joke, and then it shows up on some website and they're like, Yahoo Sports reports. So we're going to be really careful how we say this. You ready? This is where it stands with Lane Kiffin. Hypothetically, you have a guy who's being courted by a team that he just beat, Florida, on Saturday night, who could then become the Florida head coach. But Florida kind of needed to beat him to knock down his playoff chances so that he would be available in December. You guys with me so far?
Yep.
Got you.
Right now, Ole Miss is not in a great situation to go to Atlanta. They might be as high as the 5 seed in the playoff. They would play the 12 and then probably win that game. So Lane Kiffin theoretically would be booked or busy, #booked and blessed, all the way through December, when the transfer portal opens, when a new coach would want to make his assistant hires and his coordinator hires and all that, right? Okay. What if his current employer were to maybe, I don't know, the week that they have a bye, which is this Saturday, say, I'm going to need like a firm answer from you. You got to say one way or the other. Are you staying or are you going? And what if, hypothetically, Lane Kiffin said, I'm going? Because right now it's Florida, by the way. It's not LSU. It's not the Titans. It's not the Giants. It's Florida. Okay? His now reconciled, still legally ex-wife, who he co-parents with, how's that for a modern title, is from Gainesville, and she went to Florida. All right? It's going to be Florida if it's not Ole Miss. But what if the ultimatum arrives, for the sake of both programs, by the way, for Florida and for Ole Miss, and he says, I got to go. This team, this program that I coached this year that has 1 loss in the SEC, I got to go. I'm going. That could happen. We could find out about that within 7 days. I'm not saying it. I am not reporting, internet, that is happening right now. I am telling you that is a possibility, something we've never seen before. Leaving a team on its way to contending for a national championship, technically. This is on the table right now. This is what is going on with Lane Kiffin, with CAA and Jimmy Sexton, with Ole Miss and with Florida.
So not reporting, but just from what you know and that good old gut feeling that we all have. If you had to bet your house on where Lane Kiffin is coaching next year, where is it? Not reporting, gut feeling. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So the reason why this is tricky is, so I've been covering coaching searches for the better part of like 15 years. What Lane does that is different than every other person is that he draws it out until the very last minute, and he's incredibly good at mixing the noise out there. So if you ask one person, they're going to say, oh, well, he's definitely staying. And if you ask another, and I'm talking about connected people in the industry, and then you'll have an entire different set of people say, no, he's definitely going. Oh, the family's already looking at houses that, they're trying to figure out. His son is playing football at Oxford High right now. So the son is going to maybe check out what program would I transfer to, what high school program would I transfer to down in Gainesville. So it's a 50-50 thing. So what I've told people on the phone, especially for the last 48 hours, is that it truly is a coin flip. However, if hypothetically, those are my magic hands, okay? Hypothetically, one were to try to look for the inside track here, I would look at a series of comments that Lane Kiffin has made about the lackluster stadium attendance at Vaught Hemingway versus some of the bigger programs by volume, by size, not bigger in any other way, in the SEC. It seems like he's ready to go and maybe coach his home games in somewhere like the Swamp.
I honestly, Godfrey, I read that the same way. When he was talking about, were you here last week and what did you like? Did you see this? Like, I thought that was kind of a staggering. I remember being in Nashville when James Franklin got very frustrated with the lack of attendance at Vandy games, and you could feel the writing on the wall.
Comp.
And it's just I heard the Lane stuff. It was the first thing I thought was the same exact thing.
It's a very, very good comp, Fitz. Football wise, well, let me back. Compensation wise, this guy does not want, like, he's got his generational wealth. So it's not like a young G5 coach who has to go and get the big contract with the big buyout. So you change your financial circuit. That's done. This dude's been paid more buyouts than Raiders, USC, all that, right? So it's not the money. Both schools will get stupid with the compensation. Both schools are well suited for Rev and NIL. On the field, it's not really like the roster assembly. I would say you're at a disadvantage in Mississippi, but only slightly. And what they're doing, and really the kind of unsung superstars at Ole Miss, are the athletic director, Keith Carter, and Walker Jones, who handles the NIL. And they're alumni of the university. And as a fellow alumni of the university, although I'm not a native Mississippian, and I often roll my eyes all the way out of my head when I talk about Ole Miss, and it's sort of inherent to the bone pretentiousness. I can hear the LSU person laughing in my ear right now. I can't see you on camera, but I can hear you laughing.
Who, me? I would never.
Because you know. So it's shocking to me how efficient this program has become. It is shocking to me, as someone who bore witness to so many years of self-inflicted wounds. This is one of the best programs in the country. And I say that being, I would challenge someone to find someone more critical of Ole Miss in college football in the national level than me. And if this job does come open, I feel very confident and informed that the next head coach is ready to go. And there have already been conversations to that effect, because you have to with Lane. You have to have a backup plan. Auburn didn't have a backup plan a couple years ago when they tried to get Lane down to the wire. Do you guys remember who they hired? Hugh Freeze. Went great.
Hugh Freeze.
Right? Nailed it. Yeah. So Ole Miss and Florida are trying to avoid being the have-not or the bridesmaid or whatever here, so they don't get stuck looking to fill a coach. All right? So Ole Miss is going to be a better opening than it ever has been if it comes open. And it's because those people finally got their act together, if you will. However, Lane's focus is not evaluating the quality of the program. Lane's focus is, how can I make this story about myself for as long as humanly possible? How can I be the main character? I'm going to be the bad boy. Now I'm the sober boy. Now I'm the hot yoga guy, and I'm doing the Bible verses, and now I'm back with my wife, and I've got a whole running Bravo show on my Instagram, and is it my daughter? Is it my girlfriend? Like, we did that for 2 years, right? All of it, by the way, they make that joke, so I'm allowed to make that joke. Lane will never not make it about Lane, okay? And that is going to be the focus no matter where he goes. I think the difference is he has cleaned up certain aspects of his life, and he's had so much sustained success that now, this time around, Florida's interested. They weren't interested last time. He would have crawled to Gainesville before they hired Billy Napier, but he couldn't get in with the right people. Now he's in with the right people.
We have a million things I want to get to, but I have one more Lane Kiffin question for you. You just laid out how good of a place this Ole Miss football program is in. They have a great chance to make the college football playoff and to win a national championship. Last year, they invested more money in the transfer portal than any other team in college football. They have one of the best rosters in the SEC, and you're talking about Mississippi that isn't necessarily the most fertile recruiting grounds in the Southeastern Conference, compared to Florida, that is a dumpster fire, that doesn't have a quarterback, that needs to do a ton of roster reconstruction. Why leave?
It's a great question, because football-wise, in the next 3 years, you would almost certainly have more success in the win-loss column, right? Now, the counter-argument is, why not take Trinidad Chambliss with you? You could. Why not take all these guys? Why not say, hey, guys, come on, I'll do the same thing real fast? Again, this is why I'm kind of shouting out certain individuals at Ole Miss today, because everyone thinks I'm critical and saying he should go. I'm not saying that. For the first time since literally segregation ended in this sport, Ole Miss has been an innovator, and they've been really, really good at roster management, payroll management, NIL, evaluating talent. That's not all Lane Kiffin. he's going to leave a well-functioning apparatus, and the next head coach is going to walk into that. So to your point, I don't know if he should leave. I don't know from a football standpoint. Florida has a weird luster for people a certain age in the SEC. So like when I was coming up, when I was young, like I'm from Georgia, and Spurrier was the bane of UGA's existence.
Mhm.
And it was they were like the gold standard through the 90s, and as the SEC sort of became this powerful thing in the millennium. But when you stand back now that these programs are so similar in the way they're funded and their access, and everybody recruits nationally, Florida's made two good hires, right? They were an invisible football program until 1990, 89. They bring Spurrier in, a native, an alumni. He's from Tennessee, but they bring him in, and then they hire Urban Meyer at the right time. They beat Notre Dame. Every other hire they've made has been bad by a national title contender's perspective. Like bad. Jim McElwain, Will Muschamp, hiring Dan Mullen to try and get the Meyer magic back. He was Meyer's OC for a long time. Right? These have been bad hires. Billy Napier. Am I leaving anyone out? Like, if it's not Meyer and it's not Spurrier, the results at Florida are catastrophic by a national standard. So it's very feast or famine. So this idea that you're going into Alabama is not actually the case. Now, the upside is that everything that we've talked about historically, in other words, like what Meyer was able to pull together, or what even maybe Spurrier, and that was when college football was very different, that's still on the table at Florida. You still have access to one of the most populated states in the country, a ton of high school talent. It's just that you can also do the same thing in the portal at Ole Miss now.
So however this resolves, I just want to be clear. I want Lane Kiffin to stay at Ole Miss, and I want him to do one of those Wolf of Wall Street videos where he just screams, "I'm not going anywhere." I just want that. I want that. I want the full reenactment. I want the whole team in a stock brokerage firm. I'm not effing going anywhere. Like, I want this over and over and over again. I want the social media content of it. That's it. Like, I like to guess.
I mean, do you think that, like, because all we're doing is appealing to one man's ego right now, or trying to understand one man's ego. Do you think he wants a statue and maybe ultimately his name on a stadium one day? Or do you think he wants to join what he considers to be the first class of the Southeastern Conference? He theoretically, if they keep spending the way they are in Mississippi, I don't know where they're getting the money. I don't really want to know. He could elevate that program, right? They're in contention this year.
There's a very reasonable chance that Ole Miss can be a better football school for the next 10 years than Florida. If they keep Lane Kiffin and they keep doing what they're doing, I don't see any, like, I hear what you're saying, that do you want a statue at a small place, or do you want to go to the big dogs? I think we're going to have to reassess who the blue chips are and the big dogs are in 10 years. I don't have any faith outside of Lane Kiffin that Florida will get the hire right. I think there's a very real chance in 10 years that Ole Miss is considered a better football school than Florida. Even though Florida fans don't want to hear that.
Lane is also good once or twice a year for an inexplicable implosion. He skirted it this year. I was there for the Washington State game, right? Last year it was Kentucky. They lost to a horrible Kentucky team at home. One of those 11 a.m. local time kickoffs. Everybody's sleepy, right? Everyone hates the JP game. He's going to do that. Like, he hasn't stopped. He's not Nick Saban. You're not getting this established, consistent, steady presence. He's a very mercurial human being. Okay? So I think what's funny from the outside is that people only see the funny highlights on that he walks up on the wedding proposal and he's pulling off his belt to hand to his running back last week. Like, that's great. You are also going to get some truly maddening results. That's part of the Lane Kiffin experience. And what Florida seeks right now, I think more than anything, is consistency. Napier was really dogged by inconsistency, would recruit really well, had national title, rosters, sort of looking rosters, because that was Mullen's problem. But then would just, self-inflict terrible penalties, out of alignment, 10 guys on defense. Like that, that's what dogged the Napier era. And yes, is Kiffin better? Yes. Is he an offensive savant? Yes. He's going to make you want to die if you're a fan of his at least once or maybe even twice a season. Are you ready for that?
Before we let you go, Godfrey, and look, the season's not over yet. He still could be good for one more implosion. Don't want to speak that into existence. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, you mean Starkville?
Last one before we.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking at. It's a tough place to play.
Wow, that's never happened.
Feels
It hasn't. That's
Feels like they're on the
need
verge of breaking through some way, somehow over there in
Yep,
Starkville.
this-
absolutely. That's a dangerous, good football team right now with a record that doesn't reflect it. Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, the last time
1000%.
he was this involved in a coaching carousel, he lost all those games.
Just saying. Don't want to speak too soon.
Just saying.
Before we let
Okay.
you go, though, the Kalen DeBoer discourse is right back at it. We are right back in the fire Kalen DeBoer machine that we experienced
Of
after
course.
week 1 when Alabama lost to Florida State. Is the panic justified?
No. They're the most spoiled fan base in America. No, you're idiots. Can I say that you got a sore ass? Can I say this?
Yes.
You're a bunch of sore ass spoiled fans. And you have been since you have no idea. The elder Gen X Bama fans are not doing this. It's millennials, kids today on campus who came to be part of Rush Talk, and then the boomers. That's it. Gen X Bama fans remember how bad it can get. Okay, this thing is not this idea that Bama is a birthright. This idea, no, you're just as susceptible as anybody else. Nick Saban ain't coming back. He's under that comfy blanket right now. He's under the look. If a man's napping in a Barca lounger with a blanket right here, he's done with life. I aspire to that status one day if I can get there financially. Okay, I could go back for anything. You are susceptible to the week in, week out trials and tribulations of the SEC, just like anybody else. And if you don't believe that Kalen DeBoer is a good coach, hypothetically, what if USC were to open? What if Lincoln Riley went somewhere? That feels crazy, doesn't it, guys? That couldn't happen, right? Do you think Kalen DeBoer can't make that a level of money somewhere else and deal with maybe, I don't know, 80% less wanton death threats in the front yard? Right? You better be careful. You better be really careful if you're Bama. You better understand where you are in the new world, which is that you're rank and file with about 7 other SEC programs, and you're going to take some losses every year. Nick Saban is gone. He is under the blanket.
Yeah, I would always be under the blanket snuggling if I could, so I don't blame him. Steven Godfrey, check out College Football Inquirer. Always appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks for the insight. I'm sure this will get aggregated and totally misquoted, but either way, we love it, and we appreciate you hanging out with us.
I'll see you guys on the message boards.
Let's go.
Thanks, Godfrey.
Coming up, Nick Friedell going to make his Yahoo Sports Daily debut. Can't wait to break down some NBA with him. We'll do that next. New Orleans is the only city in the league where there aren't a group of fans that come early to see Steph warm up. Pelicans have got to have the most apathetic fan base in the NBA. Can't really blame them because of the way the team is run. That from Nick Friedell, who is in New Orleans right now, making his Yahoo Sports Daily debut. It's early in the morning to be up in New Orleans. We're impressed. Nick, I appreciate you hanging out, buddy. All right, so let's just start there. Is New Orleans on the brink of losing their NBA franchise?
It remains to be seen whether that's the case right now, Fitz, but after what I saw last night, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. When you follow the Warriors, as I am doing again now after doing it years ago, it is a traveling roadshow. It is the biggest joy that the NBA can offer because so many people come out of the woodwork to see Steph Curry and to see Draymond and to watch that group because of what they represent, all those championships through the years. To see a town that is so apathetic towards basketball and its own team. I mean, Fitz, the key here is the Pelicans are terribly run. They've never found success. Zion's always hurt. Anthony Davis was hurt before him. Okay, but Steph is supposed to bring a full house and bring joy and bring all kinds of fans there to see him. And when you have a half-empty arena to watch Steph Curry and the Warriors, if you're the NBA, you have big, big problems. So I think this is a real red flag for New Orleans on the whole. If you can't fill it up to see Steph, it doesn't matter. I mean, if it were me and I'm Adam Silver, I'm looking at this going, all right, what are our options here?
It's a flawed franchise for sure, but you bring it up. Everything that Steph does, everywhere he goes, everything he says is newsworthy. And the most recent thing that we learned a couple of days ago is that Steph was cutting ties with his partnership with Under Armour. From a shoe perspective, from a basketball business perspective, what does this mean and why is it such a big deal?
Caroline, what it means is that Steph is going to enjoy being a free agent for the first time with shoes in a long, long time. He was sitting up there the other night in San Antonio kind of smiling like, yeah, I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna see how this goes. But for Under Armour, we're talking about bad signs for the league and for New Orleans. For Under Armour, this is terrible. I mean, he was the face of everything that company did. No matter where you go in the world, if you saw Under Armour, somebody would mention, oh, Steph Curry. And now you take that away and he has his own Curry brand and he will inevitably sign with another shoe company and have that tie-in. But I think this is just a terrible moment for that play specifically. Steph Curry, and this is much broader than just basketball, but he brings a lot of joy to a lot of people with the way he plays, with the way he carries himself. And if you can't keep that guy in a good place and your business can't be in a good place with him as the spokesperson wearing the product all the time, you have serious, serious problems. So out of all the shoe news that comes out, this one was a pretty big shocker because for so long, Steph has been tied into that company. He prides himself on loyalty. How bad could it have possibly gotten behind the scenes that would allow for the breakup here?
All right, let's go to some positive here for Golden State. They have won 3 in a row. What's clicking for them right now?
Steph. that guy is so good when he still wants to be and can dominate at such a high level that it makes everybody else around him go, all right, if he's working this hard and he's playing this well, we need to follow suit. And when you look at the last week for the Warriors, I mean, guys, things were about to break apart there in Oklahoma City. Draymond is questioning how badly everybody wants to win. There was friction internally for a little bit. And then Steph goes out and drops 46 on Wemby on Wednesday and follows that up and drops 49 on him on Friday night. I mean, the Pelicans are terrible. They won that game just going through the motions last night. But the reason why the Warriors have found a little bit of a rhythm here is because Steph is still at the peak of his powers. And that's why, bringing it all full circle, that's why it's so concerning when you don't have fans going out to see him, because he's still that good. And Fitz, there were two standard bearers, figureheads for the league for so long. It's Steph and LeBron. LeBron is still, to me, the second best player who's ever played, but he's not at the peak of his powers anymore. He's okay. He's just not at the level he's set. Steph is. Steph is still incredible. And that Warriors team got it shipwrighted because he found a way to impose his will on those last few games. And he wanted to remind everybody, hey, I'm still the baddest dude there is.
You've covered the Warriors before. You're back on covering the Warriors again. How does this vibe and this energy and this sort of competitive nature of this team compare to the Warriors that you've covered in the past?
I think the biggest difference is they don't have the pure talent as that old iteration. And that's because they don't have Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant is incredible still in his own right. But when he was with that group, he just gave them a completely different dimension. But Fitz, with this group, what'll be interesting is how does Jimmy Butler, as the year goes on, try to find his own rhythm and his own way within the framework of this group? I've been fascinated to kind of watch that angle because I've followed Jimmy for so many years in so many different places. I really think he enjoys being out here. I don't think there's going to be any kind of issue behind the scenes because he wants to win a title and he knows this is his last best shot. And he knows what Steph and Draymond have built within this team for so many years. It's just going to be really tough for them in the Western Conference because the Thunder are the best team going, having just saw them the other day. And I think that the Warriors would really struggle against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets because that dude is just incredible with what he does every night. But as far as how the Warriors are built and the mentality, it's right there. And the reason it's still at such a high place is because nobody wants to let Steph Curry down. They see what he does. They know how well he's still playing, and they want to put in the work and the effort that he does. And they want to do what everybody else needs him to do because they want to win one more time for him.
Let's stick in the West, a team that looks like a far cry from a contender in this stacked Western Conference, but is in the headlines nonetheless, and that's Dallas. We learned yesterday AD will be out for yet another 7 to 10 days. It's death taxes, and AD has something going on. Is he the next superstar to get traded?
If the Mavericks were smart, the answer is yes. But the Mavericks
are the Mavericks smart?
Yeah, I mean, we could do a 7-hour dissertation on all the different moves that we've seen that would not lead us to believe that that was the case. But Caroline, if you're seeing the way Dallas is going right now, absolutely, I think that's the move. But if you're one of these other teams that's going to trade for AD, how could you look at the last few years and feel confident that everything would fall into place? He's still a hell of a player when he's out on the floor, but is he going to be out on the floor? From a baseline level, though, the Mavericks have been so mismanaged, and the Nico Harrison thing is finally done, and we've gone on and on about the Luka deal. They are a mess, but they're a mess of their own creation. So in the short term, before the deadline, absolutely, if you're the Mavericks, you would move Davis. But the Mavericks have shown time and again that when you think they're about to make the right move, something else is coming.
All right, well, let me be the contrarian for a second, Nick, because all I keep thinking about is you mentioned OKC, and I've said it on this show repeatedly. The best teams in the league are young talent that are drafted together and developed together. What is even trading for AD? Because you mentioned the Mavs would be smart to get rid of him. How much value does he have? Is AD really going to bring somebody a championship in the way that modern great teams are constructed?
Fitz, the answer is no, and I think it's a really good point, and it's what happens a lot in the league. Fans especially see somebody's name pop up on the trademark and they go, oh, gotta get this guy. Are you kidding? Plug this guy in with whichever team and off to a championship we go. The reality is this version of Anthony Davis isn't even the Anthony Davis we saw in the bubble. He's not the same. He's 5 years older. He's got a few more injuries under his belt, he's not the same type of player. So is he still going to help a team? Absolutely he is. He's very talented. He's one of the best big men we've seen, but the injury problems are what they are. So I don't know if you're Dallas exactly what kind of major return you get in place. My argument would be Dallas is so far away from where they need to be right now, and they screwed things up so royally with that Luka deal. Just pull the Band-Aid now. Get whatever you can back, build around Cooper Flag, and then see what you can do moving forward. The longer you wait and you say, let's see what happens, and let's see if he can play his way back into something a little bit more, the longer you are delaying reality and delaying what you need to do. And I'll give you the perfect example sitting here in New Orleans. Zion cannot stay on the floor. It's been shown time and time again. Instead of moving him, though, before the year and getting whatever you can in return, Joe Dumars comes in and makes that deal for Derek Queen, gives up a pick next year and says, I don't know, Zion's our guy. You got to move Zion. Zion is not going to be the future face of your team. I don't know if he's going to be the face of anybody's team. He's just not good enough. His body won't allow him to stay out there. The sooner you come to accept what you need, the better off your franchise will be.
And in the most predictable news of the weekend, we saw Bronny in a Lakers uniform and LeBron in the G League, just like we all expected.
Oh, yeah,
But
it's
LeBron's back. Yeah, we all saw that in our crystal balls, didn't we? Just yet another case of nepotism. LeBron coming to practice, with Bronny, his son, but he is coming back to practice. What do you expect from LeBron as he gets back out there?
Oh my gosh, Caroline, all I'm thinking is and seeing is my boy Dave McMenamin going to some G League practice, being like, "Oh my God, what is happening in the world?
What's going on?
What am I doing here?" But I think the reality with LeBron is, I felt for a while that this is probably his last year. I think he is still a really, really good player. He's just not the type of game changer night to night that he set the standard of for so many years. So I would expect when he gets out there for him to be the type of guy who can still change games here and there through the years. But when you've played as long as he has, there's only so much more that you can do. And that's why I laugh when the Lakers got hot, a couple weeks ago, and people were going, "Oh man, wait till LeBron comes back and everything gets rolling." I don't believe they have any shot against the Thunder. They have any chance against Denver. And after that, it's kind of like, all right, well, what do you expect from LeBron? I think LeBron's going to play out this last year, and he's going to have some nice games, and we're all going to go back in the time machine and say, "Oh my gosh, LeBron's incredible." But LeBron in 2025 and soon into 2026 just is not the type of guy who comes back on a team and boom, they're a title contender again.
Well, you're always our champion. Follow him on Twitter, X, at Nick Friedell. Read him on The Athletic. My friend, go enjoy some New Orleans. We appreciate you hanging out with you. Love you, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show.
I love you too, my man. It's great to be with y'all, and I promise you, until my flight gets out of town, I will be enjoying some New Orleans.
Attaboy, never a doubt. Great stuff from Nick Friedell breaking it down. Do want to get everybody some breaking news we have as it has come in from Adam Schefter at this point. ESPN sources are saying Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. has suffered a potentially season-ending knee injury during Sunday's loss to the Panthers. Penix will be seeking a second opinion, but it is not encouraging, and that means that Kirk Cousins now takes over as the starting quarterback. And unfortunately, much like we've talked about with J.J. McCarthy, Caroline, this is just another young quarterback that's not getting time on task for the team to figure out if they really have their young quarterback of the future.
I hate this for Michael Penix. I hate this for his development. I hate this for the Atlanta Falcons. We talked earlier in the show about how much young talent and how much potential is on this team. It's gone unrealized this year. The Falcons are on a 5-game losing streak. But I hate the fact that Michael Penix Jr., even if it comes in losing efforts, won't get those valuable reps. If I'm the Falcons, though, I'm okay with shutting him down for the season. I mean, the Falcons right now, they sit at 3-7. They're third in the division. They're not going to make the playoffs. There's no point in pushing Michael Penix Jr. if he's not 100% healthy. Let him get healthy, come back out next year, and hope for the better.
Yeah, next year becomes even more pressure filled for a young quarterback that's trying to show the league he can be a franchise quarterback. And the clock is ticking as it does for every single young quarterback that is drafted. I know Inside Coverage will have this covered for you later today across Yahoo Sports, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to keep breaking it all down for you for Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for watching.